and Disability Resource Centre at the University of Cambridge. Thank you very much for coming to this seminar on AbilityNet and Lizzie Green, looking at software and apps that will be helpful to you as you join Cambridge and start your courses. So thank you for coming. I hope it's useful. Thank you very much to Lizzie, and I will hand over to Lizzie now.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm really happy and excited to be here with you all today. So just a few bits of housekeeping to get us kicked off. So just a few notes that I like to give. We are using Teams today, and Teams does have an automatic live captions function available should anybody require this. So you can usually find it under the More section of your selection bar, which kind of hovers in different places depending on how you've joined Teams, and then it's under the language and speech, and you'll find captions there if you do need them. So as I did mention, for anybody who is just joining, we are recording today's session and it will be shared. It's lovely to see a few cameras on, but I do just like to give everybody the option to turn them off if they want to, so that they are not on the recording. So it is an interactive session today. There are quite a few of you on here today. Most of you have come on a mute and I've given a couple of warnings, but if we could just keep muted when we're not talking, just to alleviate any background noise, that's fantastic. However, I do encourage you to be interactive through the session. So we have the chat window available. You can pop any conversational questions into the chat, and I'll stop at points to ask if anybody has any questions. So please feel free to pop them in the chat, or to come off the mics at that point if you would like to. Just because there is quite a large group, I would just say if we could use the raise hand function in Teams, which is just again on that top bar, and that will just give me an indication if anybody would like to speak, and I will invite you to do so kind of in order of how you come up, which would be fantastic. We're also going to use some Slidos today. So for anybody that's not familiar with Slido, it's just a platform for asking interactive questions. So if you do have a mobile phone or a tablet near you, there will be a QR code that you can scan to get Slido up on there. You can join online. There'll be a code when we get to the first Slido. Or if anybody's not able to use Slido, you can participate in the chat too. We just do like to give Slido because it is anonymous. So anything that you write on the Slido will not be attributed to your name, but anything that you pop in the chat, everybody will be able to see your name. So we just like to give that as an option for you all. And then something that's not written on the slides, but I am just going to give you a little caveat about today, is a tech demo session today. So I am going to be demonstrating some tech. It's going to be interactive and things are probably going to go wrong at some point or another. I have a laptop set up. I have a tablet logged into this Teams call as well. I'm going to be flicking between the two. It's a bit like mission control up on this desk that I've got going on. So please just do bear with me. If something goes wrong, don't worry, we'll sort it out. That is the nature of tech. If it all worked perfectly all the time, we would all love it a lot more than we already do. We love it for its quirks too. So we will be having those demos, those voting, that discussion with you.
Lizzie, can you hear me?
No.
Lizzie? Okay, I think Lizzie might have frozen. Please bear with me. We're trying to.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry. How ironic is it when I say I'm going to have some tech problems that I disappear? I think I'm back.
Don't worry, you're fine. Don't worry at all. It is fine.
No problem. At least it came after I said I'll probably have some tech problems today. Right, we are back on, and hopefully you can all see my screen share again. Okay. Okay, so we'll just start off giving you a little bit of background information about AbilityNet. So we are a technology charity. We provide a range of free and paid for services across our organisation, and our overall goal is to remove barriers to inclusion for a digital world for everybody. So we work in education, we work in the workplace, and we also help people in their own homes. So we keep up to date with the latest apps and assistive technologies that allows us to offer really expert advice and information. We try and keep on top of all of those changes in the tech world so we can help inform everybody else of what's going on. So we do this in a range of different ways here at AbilityNet. So the best place to start, if you haven't already checked us out, is to go to our website. Everything that I mention here is available on our website. So we have fact sheets available. So we write fact sheets on different disabilities, different technologies, gives lots of really useful information, places to start if you are doing a bit of research into something, if you want to know a little bit more information about something. Our fact sheets are a great place to start. We also like to highlight lots of other organisations that are doing work in that specific area through our fact sheets. We have lots of free webinars going on, so we tackle many different topics in our webinars. So if there's something that's of particular interest to you, then it's definitely worth checking out what we've got going on there. The best way to do this is to sign up for our mailing list, because if you sign up for our mailing list, we'll send you a nice convenient little email every so often just to let you know what we've got going on. We also have our news and blog section. So as I said, technology is constantly changing and evolving. And the best way for us to be able to keep up with this is just to regularly release like news and blog articles about new up and coming things that are coming around. We also have a resource called My Computer My Way, which I'm going to show you a little bit about in a moment, which is our own online database of how to make your own device easier to use with all of the inbuilt features that are already there. And then we have plenty of other useful links on our website as well, with lots of other information that hopefully you can check out. Okay, so just a little bit of an overview of some things that we're going to be looking at today. So the main areas we're going to look at is we're going to start by looking at some built-in learning tools. So some things that are already available on your device, things that are already available on some of the software that you're probably familiar with, but you maybe don't know what is there in terms of things that can help you. Then we're going to look at focus. We're going to look a bit about note-taking and organisation, and then we're also going to touch on time management. So we do just have a 90-minute session today. There is lots of apps and things I would like to talk about. There's lots of apps that I won't have time to talk about. So I'm going to give you a really brief overview of some of the things that are available. But everything that I'm going to talk to you about today in terms of software and apps are either going to be free or low cost. I'm really aware that when it comes to technology, things can get really expensive. And also not really accessible to everybody. You might not need to have the funds to pay for some really super swanky software. Obviously, there is DSA funding available. So for anybody who's not aware, so DSA is the Disabled Students Allowance. So if you do have a disability that qualifies you for DSA, there is lots of really great software that you can get funded through the DSA. If you're not familiar with DSA, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to your disability advisors here at Cambridge. They'll be able to give you some more information about that and help you with that if that's something that you think you might be eligible for. But I also am very aware that there's lots of stuff out there that is really easily attainable, things that are very low cost and free and are going to help people who maybe are waiting for their DSA or maybe aren't eligible for their DSA. And that's what we're going to focus on today for you. Okay, so starting off with the built-in learning tools. So here I have noted some from Microsoft and some from Google. I know that people sometimes have a preference towards one or the other, so I'm popping in some things from both of them. So when it comes to Microsoft, we're going to look a little bit at the immersive reader, the presentation coach, and I've also popped in the built-in dictation that they have available in Microsoft Office. And then Google, again, we're going to look at some voice typing that Google has available, and also Google Live Captions, which is a great feature of Google Chrome that I'm going to show you about. So we'll kick off with the Microsoft, and this is where I start switching. So fingers crossed it all goes well. So we're going to start off with Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader is a fantastic tool that is built into all of the Microsoft Office products. So I have a Word document here that I'm going to demonstrate it to you on. So we have a Word document. We have done a little demo essay here about creating artificial reefs. We've set up this essay how we want it to be. We've got all our headings on it. We've got images in here. We've set it up in the columns that we want it to be. So it all looks fantastic. But when it comes to reviewing the document, it might not always be easy to review or do a proofread with the document looking like this with all of your images and things on it. So this is where Immersive Reader can be really helpful for you. So we find it in the View section. So if we go to View, and then we have it here, Immersive Reader. And when we select Immersive Reader, it pulls our document into a page that looks a little bit different. Now, the first thing to say about Immersive Reader is that anything that we do to the document while we're in Immersive Reader mode is not going to make a difference to the original document. So we can move things around in here to read them better. We can change things around, and it isn't going to change that integrity of your original document. So the options that we have inside of Immersive Reader, we can change the column width of our writing. So we can go from having the columns be very narrow right through to having them be very wide. So this just helps you. If you prefer to focus on a few lines at a time that are shorter when you're reading, you can pull those columns to the width that best suits you. We can also put colour filters on the page. So it has been shown that some people with specific learning differences, things like dyslexia, don't find it that easy to read the black writing on the white background. So the colour filter options have an options to put any colour that you like on the background of your document to make it a little bit easier for you to read. And again, any colour that you put on here in Immersive Reader isn't going to change that original document that you are going to hand in. Then we have the line focus. So I really like the line focus. It gives us options of 1 line, 3 lines, or 5. And what this does is if we select 1 line, is it will show you 1 line of your document at a time, and it will grey out the background. And then you can use either your up and down keys on your keyboard to move 1 line at a time, or you can use the roller on your mouse if you have a roller on your mouse, or you can select the arrows at the side of the page here, and it will just drop down 1 line at a time. So this will help you with your focus. Also, if you leave your document because something else, the doorbell rings, you need to go and answer the door, you can come back to your document and immediately see where you were, not have to find your place again. And if you want a few more than 1 lines, you can set it to 3 at a time or 5 at a time. But again, it really helps give you that guide. Just see where you are, just get rid of some of that stuff in the background that might be distracting. There's also text spacing. So by selecting this, pulls out the gaps between your text to be a little bit bigger. Again, people can find this helpful for reading. And also syllables, so you can pop the syllable markers into your words as well. So this is really handy for you sounding something out. Maybe if English isn't your first language, it can be really helpful to pop the syllable markers in. Maybe if you're practicing for a presentation and you're going to have to read this out, you can pop those syllable markers in to help you read out. And then finally, we have the read aloud, and I'm pretty sure when I'm just going to reshare my screen, sorry, because I didn't pop the sound on when I reshared the second time. So I'm just going to pop back in. So when we have the read aloud, so I can open this up. And
See dumping insights widespread condemnation. Little surprise when oceans are seen as convenient dumping grounds for the rubbish we have created, but
so by turning on read aloud, it will read that document back to you. So if you prefer to have it read aloud to you when you're proofreading, I often find that if I hear something as a mistake, it's a lot easier to spot when I hear it than if I read it, especially if I've spent a long time writing that document myself. Then being able to listen to it back will just hopefully help you spot any of those mistakes in proofreading. And within the read aloud here, you have the options to change the speed at which it's going to read it to you. And you also can choose a female and a male voice at the moment. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Microsoft pretty soon are going to put some more voice options on there, because I know that they have a lot of voice options available in other bits of software. So I'm hoping that they're going to move them over into Immersive Reader soon. But they are sounding a lot less mechanical. When they first came out with these screen reading things that read out to you, they sounded quite computerized. A lot of people didn't like them because they didn't like the way that they sounded when they listened back. They are improving quite a lot, and hopefully I'm hoping that Microsoft are going to pop some of those extra voices on there for us soon. And then if we close down Immersive Reader, you can see our document is right back to the original document, how it was. And nothing has changed on there. Everything has been kept inside Immersive Reader. So it's really, really nice thing to use. The other thing that I wanted to put, just to note when I've got this Word document open, is we have the dictate function here. So if you prefer, I'm going to go down to the bottom of this document just to get a blank line. So what we can do is we can select dictate, and then it will give us a notification that it has started. And as you speak, it will just write down everything that you are saying. And then if we stop that, it will stop it there. So it did pick up that I said notification twice, but we can just delete that. So you do have to do a little bit of editing. But again, this has come on massively in terms of inbuilt dictation software. There used to be a time when it wasn't so good, the inbuilt ones, but now these are really, really good. I would say that my one piece of advice, if you are going to use the dictation that's built in, it's a really good idea to use a headset, something like what I'm wearing today, just with these microphones that come right up in front of your face. It just gives you a more accurate recording if it's trying to pick up from the microphones that are just built into your computer. They're not quite a stronger microphone, and your accuracy levels might drop a little bit. But headsets like this are relatively low cost, and they just have really good noise cancellation actually on these little microphones. They're only small, but they're very good at getting rid of the background noise, and that will just give you a much more accurate recording of what you're saying, and hopefully you'll have to do a little bit less editing on that one. Okay, so those are the things that are built into the Microsoft, and I'm just going to now show you the ones in Google. So again, Google Documents. So if you prefer to use Google Docs, if you have a Google account, Google does also have the option of making those voice recordings, so using your voice to type. They have moved it on me, so I just need to find it again. I think it's in Tools. Yep, so it's in Tools now. It used to be on that top bar and they've taken it off, and I'm not too sure why. And we have voice typing. So if we select voice typing in Google, it doesn't start immediately like the one does in Microsoft, which is the first notification. I also quite like that you can move it around the page. They have it as free floating, so when it's open, you can move it around where you want it. It has defaulted to US, but we'll go with that for now. You would probably want to change it to English UK. And then we just select this microphone. And when we select the microphone, you can see again, it has started typing everything that I'm saying. We sometimes like to go really fast to see how it picks up that. And it does a pretty good job. And then we will turn it off again. And there we go, we have that. And again, quite accurate. I didn't say any double words. It's picked up pretty accurately what I was saying, even when I was speaking relatively fast. Now, the other thing that I want to show you in Google is something that's available in Google Chrome as a built-in feature, which can be really helpful for people. And this is the fact that Google Chrome now has built-in captions for anybody that needs them. For any audio that doesn't have captions built into the program itself. So videos on YouTube, for example, quite often now will have the captions on the video, but not all of them will, because it is dependent on the person that's loading the video. putting those captions on. Sometimes we find that things like podcasts or short voice recordings on websites don't have any captions available. And so if you do need captions, quite often you're not able to use that information. But Google Chrome now has built in its own captions. So where we find this is if you open up a Google Chrome page, there are 3 dots at the top here in the right-hand corner. We select those and we have to open up the settings. This will take us into the Google Chrome settings. And then down near the bottom of the list, we have accessibility. So if we select this, we have the option here for live captions. So this will automatically create captions for English audio and video. So we select that on. You also have, which is a really nice feature, is the option to customize your captions and your style. So you can change the font style and the size of those captions. Now, I'm not going to show you that now because once you set those preferences, it does take a couple of minutes for Google to just rejig itself and work out those new preferences. But they are there should you need them. And then once that's turned on, I'm going to show you something on, I'm just going to refresh the BBC Sounds podcast page. I'm going to open up this rugby podcast. I'm just going to start playing it.
Welcome to All Day Rugby.
Oh, sorry, the captions we've got on the other side.
World Cup content on BBC Sounds. First up, we've got the latest Rugby Union Daily. But stick around for chat from around the nations and also treasures from the BBC.
To go a little bit low. I opened it up. There we go. So here so you can see it started the captions. It did unfortunately start playing them on my second screen, but they just pop up at the bottom. Again, you have the option. You can move these captions around the screen, or you can pin them in place. So you can pop them wherever you need them, and it does just start auto-generating as soon as you go on that site. So again, it's just something really nice that's built in there. If you ever come across something that doesn't have any captions available built into them itself. Okay. And then the last thing in the built-in learning tools that I want to show you is the presentation coach that is available in PowerPoint for you. So if you are relatively new to doing presentations, or you feel nervous when you need to do a presentation, if you don't want to maybe bother your housemates, parents, friends, siblings with practicing your presentation over and over again on them, the presentation coach is built into PowerPoint, and it does allow you to practice, and it will review your practice, and it will give you hints and tips on how to change your presentation style. So this is available in PowerPoint online. So what you would have to do is make sure you open PowerPoint online, but all obviously your Microsoft products will save to the cloud. So you will just be able to access your account online and get in and use this presentation coach. It has to be online because it does need to use some internet and some AI to give you a review. But I'm going to show you a short video now of one of my colleagues just demonstrating how the presentation coach works.
Now, checking content doesn't necessarily have to mean just checking for errors, and I want to introduce you to the PowerPoint Coach. The Coach is a feature of Office 365 for the web and is an AI assistant to help you practice your presentations. You can find the Rehearse with Coach button up on the ribbon under Slideshow, and clicking it will launch your presentation and give you an option to start rehearsing. The PowerPoint Coach will check you for reading speed, but also things like using ers and as fillers. There you go. So I'm now going to try and deliver this speaking far too quickly. Student-led and proactive, so it would help identify barriers and challenges, not impairments and conditions, social, not medical model. Direct advice should be made available, so it's just told me to start speaking a bit slower. It'll also pick up on non-inclusive language, so if I said something like policeman, it highlights this might cause offence in some cases. If you're reading out the contents of your slides, so if I was to say student-led and proactive, focus on barriers and challenges, signpost services for specific groups and protected characteristics, provides an action plan with advice and what to do next / who to contact. It's just told me to try avoid reading the slides and to summarize my points. And when I'm done, it gives me a summary of how I've done.
Okay. That's the presentation coach. I'm just going to pop back to this one. So before we move on, I'm just going to jump in the chat and see if anybody has any questions about any of those built-in features at this point. Okay, nothing so far, but again, please do feel free to pop those in the chat as you think of them. Okay, so the next thing we're going to move on to is focus. And before we start looking at some apps, I'd like to invite you to go onto the Slido. So as I mentioned, there is a QR code that you can scan there in the top left-hand corner, or you can join at slido.com. And if you join at slido.com, you'll need to pop in the code for this session, which is 511927. I'm just going to pop those in the chat bar for you as well. And then the question that I'm asking here are, what are some of the common barriers or challenges to focus? So when you think about focus, what are some of the things that come to mind as being a barrier or a challenge? So we've got some coming through now, which is fantastic. I'll just give you a moment to type in. Okay, great. We're getting lots coming through here. So noise has come through as a big one, followed again by a large one of social media. Internal distractions like worrying, headaches, noise, procrastination, phone alert, stress, discomfort, people, anxiety, boring, tiredness, distractions, mood, hunger. I can relate to that one. Definitely. Yeah, fantastic. So much coming through there. Homesickness, yeah, especially for new students moving away from home. Yeah, overwhelming. Absolutely. Fantastic. Lots coming through. Priorities, definitely. And your mindset and overload, sensory overwhelm, definitely. Great, that's fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much for popping those all in there. So on to the apps that we're going to talk about here. So again, as I said at the beginning, I'm keeping a focus on apps that are either free or low cost. There are lots available on the market, and if you were to go away after this session and start Googling some others, there will be plenty of other apps that you'll find out there, and I completely encourage you to do that. I'll just say that the ones that we've specifically mentioned on this course, we've been really careful to kind of try and curate our list to apps that are kind of reliable, that have been on the market for a really long time. In the early days of us running these kinds of sessions, we had lots of feedback from people saying that sometimes they would be reluctant to use some of these apps for fear that they would start using them and then the app might disappear, especially when it's something free. You're not sure it's going to stick around for very long. So we've been really careful here, and we've really tried to curate this list of things that have been around for a really long time. And while we can't 100% guarantee that they're not going to disappear on us, we're pretty confident that they're probably not going anywhere anytime soon. So the first app on here that we mentioned is called Noisily. So a lot of people mentioned distraction and lack of focus on the Slido. And quite often we find that people have different preferences when it comes to working. Some people like to work in absolute silence. Some people like to listen to music. Some people like to listen to podcasts. But if you're anything like me, I can't deal with silence. I can't get working in silence. I really don't like it. But what I often found is if I started listening to music or if I was listening to a podcast, I would get so involved in what was going on with the music or the podcast. I'd sometimes find I was writing a document, and before I knew it, I'd written half of the lyrics of the song in the middle of my document. Or I'd be listening to a podcast and I'd get so involved with listening to what they were saying in the podcast, I'd realise it had been 10 minutes I hadn't written anything in my document. So what I discovered is there are apps out there that are noise generating apps, but they create ambient noise rather than anything that's music, nothing with lyrics. They create noises of different environments. So there are some that make noises like coffee shops or rainfall or crackling fires. And those are really, really nice to just give you that ambient noise, so you're not in complete silence, but they don't give you anything that's going to be too distracting to you carrying out your work. And the one that I mentioned here on the slide is called Noisily. And the reason that I like Noisily is because it has lots of options. So I'm going to bring up and show you the web version of Noisily because it has really nice examples on the web of what you can do. So you can set up different playlists and you can choose different options. So I've just turned on the random one and it's just started with some birdsong. But it's quite nice that you can mix and match. So I can add in some rain and I can turn it up or down. So I can turn the rain down, I can pop in a bit of thunder on top of my rain. And again, you can play with the volume of that thunder. And I quite like it because it's very intuitive. You can pick and choose and you can build what you like. There's some forest sounds. There's train tracks and other ones. I haven't signed into the account, so I can't access them all, but just to show you, there's some wind options too. But it's quite nice because you can just start to build things that you find particularly peaceful or you find work for your situation. So Noisily, you can create a free account online, and that will offer you 16 different versions of the sounds. They do have paid options, which offers you some more, but I think that the free version definitely gives you enough to start working with and to create. If you then did decide that you liked Noisily, I will just mention that the app version of Noisily does have a $1.99 payment cost on there. So I'd recommend that you try it out online first, see if you like it, and if it's something that's really going to work with for you and you want to pay the app fee, then please go ahead and do so. Again, there's lots of different ones available out there on apps that are available for free, but it's something that you can play with, and I just particularly like Noisily because it does give you those options to mix and match and find things that are the best option for you, whereas all the other ones generally have set sort of playlists that you're listening to. So the next app that I'm going to talk to you about is called Forest. So we had lots of people saying procrastination, social media, distractions came up all over that Slido, and I am with you there. I am addicted to my phone. It's a problem. I'm always on social media, probably when I shouldn't be. And the Forest app falls under the category of apps called content blockers. So what content blockers do is exactly as it says on the tin. They allow you to put a block on. So for a certain amount of time that you set, you can't access that social media, you can't access your phone. They all work in slightly different ways, but the way that the Forest app works, as the name again might suggest, is you set up your app with a timer. So you want it to be for 10 minutes, you want it to be for 25 minutes, that you can't look at your phone. And what the Forest app does is it brings up an image on the front of your phone screen, which starts with a little seedling that looks something similar to their logo that I've got on the screen there. And over the time that you have set, that seedling grows into a tree on your screen. But if you are to go into your phone at the time, if you are to break that session, then your tree will die. And it's very sad. What I quite like about an initiative of Forest is for every tree that you grow in your virtual forest on your Forest app, the Forest have an initiative that they will plant a tree in real life. So it's quite nice, it's sustainable, it might give you that extra incentive to go and grow those trees. I did have someone once that just told me that they did realize that they didn't really like trees because they kept just killing their tree on the app. So, you know, it's important to note that you can get through these apps if something urgent comes up and you do need to use your phone, you can break them. But really, it's just encouraging you to take that time away, to step away from your phone and to help you concentrate on the session that you're working on. So again, the Forest app, I will just note, is one of the apps with a low cost. So again, the last time I checked, they do keep changing these on me though. The last time I checked, the Forest app was also running at $1.99 one-off payment to get that app available for you. So again, if it's something that you want to try out, it's relatively low cost to do so with the Forest app. So then the next thing I want to talk to you about is the Pomodoro technique of learning and some apps to do that. So there's some little reactions in the teams there. So if anybody has heard of the Pomodoro technique, if you could give me a thumbs up in the reaction, see if anybody knows about this one. Yeah, a couple of thumbs up coming through. Okay. So the Pomodoro technique was developed in the 1980s by an Italian man called Francesco Cirillo. And he was really struggling to focus on his studies and get his assignments done. He was feeling quite overwhelmed, all the things that you sort of mentioned in the Slido. And he discovered and thought to himself, if I could commit to just doing 10 minutes of study time, if I could just focus for 10 minutes and then I could take a break, then that's like an encouraging challenge to himself. Like, if I can just do 10 minutes, then I'll allow myself to have a break. So what he did is he got a timer out of his kitchen. It happened to be shaped like a tomato, and the Pomodoro technique was born because Pomodoro is the Italian word for tomato. And he did develop this, and he moved on from 10 minutes, and he encouraged himself to do a little bit of extra time each one. And then he kind of came to the realization that the ideal time that he could focus for before he really needed a break was about 25 minutes. So a standard timer for the Pomodoro technique is that you do 25 minutes of work, and then you allow yourself a minute's break or a 5-minute break. And then if you do 4 or 5 of these Pomodoro sessions, so 25 and 5, so you do 25 and 5 4 times, then you can give yourself a longer break, something like 15 to 30 minutes, where you can actually step away from the work. And he just found that those 25-minute little sprints of work with a guaranteed break at the end made him much more productive and much more likely to be able to focus. And just breaking down all of those big complex projects into smaller things that were going to last for 25 minutes just meant that he was able to achieve things a lot easier. Well, I'll let you know that I was very skeptical about the Pomodoro technique when I first read it. And so I decided to try it out with my team in the office. This was pre-COVID. We were all working in the office together. And I'd say on a Friday afternoon, we were very unproductive. It was the end of the week. We'd all worked all week. We were, minds were straying, and we probably weren't the most productive on a Friday afternoon. So I said to my team one Friday afternoon, I've read up on this technique that I'm going to start talking about. Let's give it a try. So what we'll do is we'll work for 25 minutes. We won't talk to each other. We'll all just concentrate on our work for 25 minutes. Then we'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll do this for the afternoon. I'm like, it's a win-win situation. I'm giving you guys all extra break time because you don't have to do any work in the 5 minutes, and we'll see how we get on. And I would say it was probably the most productive Friday afternoon I've ever had. Because just having to focus for those 25 minutes and then knowing that for 5 minutes I was going to have a chat, we were going to make a cup of tea, we were going to wander around the office and have a bit of a stretch, just meant that we got so much more done because we just taken everything down into those really small, manageable chunks. So with regard to apps around the Pomodoro technique, there are plenty of apps available out there which have these timers set up for you. So you can probably the best thing to do with this one, and I will say with this one because you're not saving any information, is just to go on your app store, so whichever app store you're using, and just write in Pomodoro timer or tomato timer, and they will bring up lots of different apps that are available. Probably the notable ones for me is the Clockwork Tomato is one that's fantastic. There is an app version, and then I'm just going to show you one that is available online as well, that I like because it's got some really good customizability. So this one's called Marinara Timer, so marinaratimer.com. So it has the standard Pomodoro here, so you can just set this one off going and it will just automatically start with your 25 minutes. So you start it, your 25-minute countdown starts. What I quite like as well, I'm not sure if you can see because I've got a presenting bar on the top here. But what it does here as well is in your top tab, so if you were to work on tabs, if you're working on research in other tabs, it does keep the timer here and the tab at the top of your screen too, so you don't have to constantly keep it on the page. You can pause your Pomodoros on here, you can restart them, and then it also has a notification of sound to let you know when those 25 minutes are over, and then it will start your 5-minute break timer automatically. But what I also quite like about this Marinara timer is if you find that 25 minutes doesn't work for you, it's a bit too long, or you think you can go a bit longer, they do have a custom timer on here. So the custom timer will just allow you to pop up at the beginning and you can fill in your periods and you can set your own timers. So if you feel like you want to do a little bit more or a little bit less on your timer, you can just custom set those up too. Another thing about Pomodoro that I will mention is if you have one of those smart home devices that I won't mention the A name of now, just in case any of you have got them on in the background. I don't want to set them all off. If you do have one of those, there is a built-in skill for that. So if you just ask it to start tomato timer, it will just start the 25-minute countdown for you and then again give you that indication when your timer's up, so you don't have to set up anything up. It's all built in there ready to go. You just have to ask her to start it. Okay, any questions? I see there's a question about note taking for math. I have a mention of something that comes up with maths. I don't have anything specifically for maths. I have been asked it before and it doesn't appear to be anything specifically on the market, but there will be something in one of the note takers that is to do with maths that you might find helpful when we get there. So we'll be there shortly. Okay, so moving on to our next Slido. So we're going to move on to look at note-taking and organisation now. So again, the question on the Slido is, what are some of the common barriers or challenges that you might face when it comes to note-taking and organisation? So the Slido should stay running. If you've kept it up in the background, it should just move on to the next question, but otherwise you can rescan or relog into that one. Lots coming through again, so thank you everyone. The resoundingly large one of overwhelm coming up at the beginning. We've got not knowing which method is best to use, starting 5 different organizational systems, keeping up has been mentioned several times, illegible handwritten note, struggling to be consistent, recognizing key points, can't read the professor's handwriting, hand cramps, eye strain, slow writing, wanting to write everything, bad processing. Yeah, lots coming through here. Time, losing your papers. Yeah, been there. Indecisiveness. Great. Yeah, loads coming through there. Okay, fantastic. Thanks everyone for sharing again. Okay, so again, lots of things are available for when it comes to note taking and organisation, and just 3 here that I have highlighted for this time. So again, I'm keeping with the big hitters here. So I'm going to talk about 2 from Microsoft and 1 from Google. So I'm going to start us off with Microsoft Lens. So Microsoft Lens is an app that is available. It's free and it's part of the Microsoft package. And what is really nice about it is because it's Microsoft, it's built to integrate with all of the other Microsoft software. As the name suggests, Microsoft Lens is a camera, but it is a camera app that is built with specific functions to help you when it comes to learning. So at this point, this is going to be the first time where I switch over to the tablet. So bear with me while I do the screen share switch. Hopefully this will all work seamlessly because we've already had our little technical hiccup. Okay. So yes, I can see that we can see that screen. So we're going to open up Microsoft Lens. So it is a camera app and it has opened up to my camera. So what we have within Microsoft Lens is down the side, we have different options that we can use. So 2 of interest that we have that I'm going to show you in terms of studying is we have document. So we have document mode, which means we are able to capture any documents that we might have, anything written that we might have. So I've just picked up an AbilityNet leaflet here. And what we can see about how the app works is immediately we can see that it works from any angle. So I am sitting with my camera at a slight angle to the table, and we get these white corner markers which try to line up with the document. So we line them up as best we can from this angle, and we take a picture of the image. It's just being a little bit slow on the screen share, so I'm just going to wait for it to catch up. The screen share seems to have disappeared on me. No, it doesn't look like that tablet is working for me. Let me try it one more time. Tech is not on my side today. Right, we're back. Okay, so I took the picture and it has now lined up a box around the outside of the image. So if I haven't quite captured all of this document, I can pull these down just to all of the correct edges. And then when I press confirm, it moves the document, so it moves it straight as I was taking it at an angle, and it has cropped it around the document itself. And then this gives me options here of other things that I can do. So I can continue to crop, I can filter, I can open up some ink, so I can highlight directly on this document. And then it will save it on there. I could type text boxes on there. So if I wanted to annotate directly on the document, I could do that. And then when I am done, I would select done. And because it is a Microsoft product, it's going to offer me these options here. So I could save it directly to the photos of the device, but I could also save it into any one of the other Microsoft products. So I could pop it in OneNote, I could just save it to my OneDrive, cloud storage, I could pop it in Word, or I could pop it in PowerPoint. I can email it to myself. There's lots of options that I can do in there. Because it's all integrated with Microsoft, you can just send it straight to where you need it. The other option here, which is a nice one for lectures, I know somebody did say they have a problem with reading people's handwriting, so it is very dependent on that, but we do have whiteboard mode as well. So again, I have a little whiteboard here in the office that I've set up. And again, I'm going to show you, I'm sitting at an angle here. I've got those white markers come up. I can let it focus and I can take the picture. Again, then gives me the options to move that around the whiteboard. And if I press confirm, what it has done here is it has again pulled it straight for us. And what it has done with the whiteboard mode as well is it puts a layer over it that takes that shine off of the whiteboard. Quite often, if there's lights reflecting down directly on those whiteboards, it gets quite shiny and quite difficult to read. So within this app, it just takes that shine off the function. And then again, as we did with the other image, we get lots of options here where we can annotate and we can draw onto this document itself, or we could type notes on it too. And then again, when we are done, we have those options again to drop them straight into any of those Word, PowerPoint, any of those Office products as well. So it's just really nice because it integrates. And what's nice about it as well is that you don't have to move to take that picture. If you saw in that demonstration, I was sitting at a side angle to the whiteboard. So if you were sat to the side of a whiteboard in a lecture, you wouldn't have to get up and move to go to the front to take that picture. You could take it from wherever you're sitting and then just drop it directly into your notes. You wouldn't have to worry about trying to get down everything that was written on there before you left the lecture. You could just snap that picture and take it with you. Okay, I'm going to move back to the main screen now. Okay, so now I'm going to look at some features in OneNote for you. So Microsoft OneNote is a fantastic tool. It is an online notebook for you. It's really nice. There's lots of capability for things that you can do, and has a really nice way of keeping all of your notes really succinct, really organized, easy to find. So again, it's going to get rid of that I've lost my notes on paper. And because they are saved on OneNote and because they are saved to the cloud, it means that you can have access to your notes wherever you are. So you can have OneNote for your desktop, so you can have it on your main laptop. There is a OneNote app for your tablet or your phone, and also there is an online version of OneNote too. So if you were on a computer in the library that you needed to use, you could still access all your notes by logging into your OneNote account online, and all of the notes will be there and available for you. So the way that OneNote works is you have notebooks. So you would start and you would add a new notebook. So I'm going to call this tech demo example, and I'm going to create the notebook. Oh, it doesn't like the name. We'll go with this tech demo one that I've already created. And then when you've created your notebook, you can add in sections and then you can add in pages. So it's up to you how you would like to organize this, but I often think maybe a nice idea is to have maybe all your modules as sections, and then all your pages be particular lectures in that module. So we can have we can add a new section. This can be module 2, and then within that section, oh, you can't see my screen. Sorry. Thank you everyone for letting me know. I'm not sure what's going on with sharing today. Is it back with you? Are we back on my screen?
Yeah, we are.
Fabulous, thank you. Screen sharing is not my friend today. So we can set up these modules by adding the sections, and then you add pages within here. So this page could be, just start this with lecture 1 in that module. So this notebook page is an infinite page of notes. It will just get bigger and bigger as you add to it. So you can do regular typed notes, so you can do test notes. And what's nice about it is it pops all of your text notes into a box, and you can move them around the page wherever you want them. So you could start making notes all underneath each other. You could make different bullet point notes. You could move them around wherever you want to put them. You then have options to insert things into here. So you have options to pop in tables if you want to make tables. You can insert pictures, so any pictures that you've got on there. Again, this might be where you wanted to pop in a picture from a whiteboard that you'd taken on Office Lens. You could drop that into here. You can pop in videos. What's really nice as well is if you pop in say a YouTube video that you want to come back and reference, you pop the YouTube video in and you can actually view the YouTube video inside of the OneNote document. It doesn't take you to another one. You can record some audio. So I can start here. You can record some audio. It is recording now. You've got the options that come up here, so I can press stop and it will just keep a little audio recording here. Again, you can move this around the document wherever you want to pop it. I would caveat here, I think the capability of the audio recording on OneNote is probably better for short snippet notes. If you were to try and record your entire lecture, it might work, but I would say with anything with recording, as I mentioned with the dictation, the recording is only going to be as good as the quality of your microphone. So if you did want to try and record the whole lecture, you'd probably want to look at investing in maybe like a small directional external mic that you could plug into your device, because if you try to just pick it up on your tablet or your phone, the audio quality probably isn't going to be good enough for you. But what is quite nice on OneNote now is you do have the option to skip back by 5 minutes and 15 seconds, which gives you a little bit of an easier way of finding information in longer chunks of recording. Just had a question here, is there an audio to text feature within OneNote? Not as far as I'm aware. I did look at any latest announcements in OneNote before this session when I was reviewing. So far, no audio to text function in here as yet. But maybe it might come. It's updating quite often, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that we see in the future. Then we have drawing options in here. So this is where I mentioned, someone mentioned maths. We do have some maths features within OneNote. So if you are looking at equations, in there you can use some of these example equations. I always get to maths and think I'm terrible at demonstrating because I'm not a maths person, and then I have to write an equation and I've got no idea what to write. It also has a nice feature, so you can write your equation in what they call ink, so using one of your pens. So if I do here, if I do x plus, I'm drawing with a mouse as well, so it's not the best. And I'm just copying that example here. If I do x plus y equals 3, and then I go back to this selection and I select this all here, and then I press the maths button. Here on this right hand side, it's recognized my equation, and then if I press ink to maths, it turns it into a written equation there. This is a really nice feature as well. It works here. We've got this one here called ink to text, so it does the same with writing. So if I was to handwrite again, writing with my mouse, so not ideal. If I was to write hello and then select this and then use ink to text, it will change it to typed text for you as well. So I've just demoed with my mouse there, but what this is really nice for is if you were to pop OneNote on, if you have a tablet, for instance, if you have an iPad or a tablet, you pop OneNote on your iPad or your tablet, and you take that along to your lecture. If you wanted to handwrite notes, you could then use this ink to text to change it into those text notes that you can then copy and paste and edit. I've tried it out with handwriting. I know some people don't have the best handwriting. I've just written that with a mouse on a screen, so it's really all over the place and it's done quite well. If you have something like an Apple Pencil or a stylus or any kind of pencil device that you're using on your tablet, and you can write with that, then that's going to be really helpful for you as well. You obviously are always going to have to do a little bit of editing. There's going to be a few things that don't turn up, but generally the accuracy of this is pretty good. And it's enough just for you to do a review and just do a few edits in the type text, but it's going to save you time, especially if you're not the fastest at typing and you do prefer to write something, but you don't want to rely on having paper that you're going to lose all over the place. So those are a few things in here. Someone's put, could you handwrite notes and take a picture with Microsoft Lens to convert it into type? Not yet, Deb. I think it's a feature that's not far off. They haven't put a handwritten feature in there, but there are another couple of apps that have got handwriting recognition software, and I don't think it'll be long before Microsoft get their hands on it and pop it in Lens. So currently no, but I do think it's not far away. So hopefully soon, because that would be really, really helpful. Okay. So then I'm going to move on to Google Keep for you. So again, I'm going to try and get the tablet to work again for my Google Keep. So we'll keep everything crossed, everyone. Okay. We are back with the tablet. So Google Keep, I like to describe as being like online post-it notes. So it's like a digital post-it note for you. Whereas OneNote is going to be more for making your notes from lectures, Google Keep is going to be noting down anything that you want to keep an eye on, anything that you want to organize, any quick notes and things like that. So within the Google Keep, we can see everything comes up on the page in these little boxes, and we can add lots of different types of things in here. So we can open up to add a note, and we can just type a note out, and we can save that, and we can edit, and then that's come up in the top there as a note. We have different options here. We can make lists in OneNote, which is really useful. So if you look here, I've made a list, which is just a little shopping list. What's quite nice about the lists in here is I can tick them, and it will tick them off and move them to the bottom. But I can also untick them, and it will add them back to the list. In my personal Google Keep that I have, I make a Christmas list I have every year. I tick everybody off when I bought them a Christmas present, and then after Christmas I reinstate them all so I don't forget to buy anybody a Christmas present the next year, so I don't miss anybody. You can do voice notes on here. Again, we have the option of recording voice notes in OneNote, and we have the option to do written, like drawing notes as well, so we can draw on here too. They all get saved and all shown in this section here, but then what you can also do is you can set up categories for them. So they call them labels on Google Keep. So you can see here on the sidebar, I have labels for things for home, and I have labels for things for university, and I can create other labels, and then I can tag things via these labels. And then what I can do is I can select university, and it will just bring up all the notes that I have tagged for university. If I go to home, it will just bring up the notes that I have tagged to home. So it's a really nice way of being able to filter through everything if you want to keep all your personal things on here, but also things for university. Then you can shift them and recreate them, move them everywhere. What I also quite like about Google Keep is it has an archive too, so you can throw things away when you're done with them, but you can pop them in the archive. So if you do need to grab them back, then it's possible to do so. Another couple of nice features on here that you don't necessarily have on OneNote is if I have a document here, so I've taken a screenshot from just a BBC web page. So it's just a photograph at the moment. If I open up that photograph and I double click it to open up here, then I have these 3 dots in the corner here. And it brings up these options at the bottom. And the first one is called grab image text. So if I select that, and then what it does in a minute, when it is it takes all of the text that is in this image and it pops it underneath here as editable text. So I can now copy and paste this, and I can pop it wherever I want. So this does work if you were to take a photograph of a page in a book. So if you have a book in the library that you can't take out for whatever reason, or you have a book in the library that you want to quote, it's quite a substantial quote and you don't want to try and type it all out, you can take a photograph of that page, you can pop it into your Google Keep, and then you can use that option there. So by double clicking on the image, pressing the select and grabbing that image text, it then gives you that full editable text that you can just highlight, copy and paste into your document. So this app is called Google Keep. So again, it's free to use. You just do need to set up, you do need to have a Google account. So you need to have a Gmail account, which again, it's free to set up a Gmail account, and then it will all just save to that Gmail cloud for you. Another really great feature of this that I've not seen on any other app is you can set notifications against all of your notes. So if I open this note, for example, I can set a notification, which is this little alarm bell at the top there. So I can set time-based reminders, as you can with most things. I can ask it to remind me tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening. It's select a date or time. But the great thing that Google has that no one else has is I can set reminders based on location. So the example I always use here is a great one. If you have a shopping list and you need to go and pick some stuff up, and you're on your way home and you walk straight past the supermarket and you get home and you realize you haven't gone shopping, you could set a location-based reminder. So you pop in the postcode of the supermarket that you're going to walk past, and as long as you have your notifications turned on, as soon as you come into the vicinity of that location, it's going to ping up a reminder for that note that's going to bring up your shopping list to remind you to go shopping. Or if you've got books to go back to the library, you could make a note that says take the books back to the library. You set a notification with the library postcode, and as soon as you walk past the library door, it's going to bring up that notification to remind you to take your library books back. So that's a really nice one. There's just an extra feature that I haven't seen on any of the other apps that I really, really like. Okay, switch back to the computer now. So does anybody have any questions about any of those note-taking apps? So I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, as well as when we send the recording across to the team at Cambridge, I'll also send these slides as well, which they can hopefully share with you. So if you need to refer back and look at any of the names of any of these apps, they're all on the slide deck for you. Okay. So moving on now, we're going to look at some timekeeping. So again, I'm going to invite you to share on the Slido what you think some common barriers and challenges might come up when it comes to timekeeping. So we have not enough time, time blindness, underestimating time, executive functioning, distractions, making sure you have enough time, staying focused, hyper focus. Yeah, great. Lots of ideas again coming through. That time blindness seems to be a key one. Okay, so the apps that we're going to mention here. So we have first, we have an app that is called Habit Bull. So we often get people reporting that they have a lot of difficulties, I think, when it comes to things like hyperfocus, or they have some bad habits that they've developed with time. or they just want to plan out their time. If they have a lot of reading that they have to do, they sometimes leave it till last minute. So we like to mention habit bull because it's a really nice way of creating and reinforcing positive habits. So if you are looking at something like your reading, you could use the Habit Bull app to set yourself up a positive habit of being able to read every day. So you can set it up, for example, as I am going to read. My screen share has dropped out again. Thank you for letting me know. So for habit, for a habit that was reading, you could set yourself up a habit. Say I'm going to read 10 pages a day, or I'm going to read for half an hour every other day. And you set up that habit into Habit Bull, and it becomes like, again, as with the Pomodoro technique, becomes a bit of a gamification of that habit. You're setting yourself challenges, and by doing those challenges, you are going to reinforce those positive habits. It's going to allow you to track how often you are keeping up with being able to do those things, and hopefully just reinforce you into building those positive habits around your learning, your studying, and your time. We would always say with habits, it's really key to do one or two at a time. Don't overload yourself with trying to do too many things at once, because you're probably less likely to succeed. So take these things one thing at a time, build that positive habit when you feel like, yeah, I've really got this. When you're tracking your app and you're like, yeah, I'm doing my reading every other day now. It's really ingrained in me. Think about taking that habit off and popping on another one. So the Habit Bull does allow you to set, I think it's 5 habits in the free version. If you want more, you do more, but as I said, we encourage you to do 1 or 2 at a time. So the free version of the app should give you plenty to be able to set up those habits and have a try. The next app that I always mention is, I popped in there as a little bit of a funny one. This definitely harks back to my days as a student. One of my major problems with time management was actually getting up in the morning. I used to dread my timetable of 9 a.m. lectures because I'm not a morning person in the slightest. And on more than one occasion, I will admit that when I was at university studying, I did turn my alarm off in the morning, roll over, go back to bed, and miss the beginning of my lecture. So we mentioned Alarmy as a bit of a fun app for you. So the way that Alarmy works, my one colleague described it as the world's most annoying alarm clock. But if you do need that motivation to get up in the morning, then it is a really great one for you to try out. I will say try some of the things with caution though. So the way that Alarmy works is when you set up an alarm, it asks you to set what they call missions to be able to turn the alarm off. So these missions range from scanning a barcode of a product and then rescanning it in the morning to turn the alarm off, taking a photo when you set the alarm and then recreating the same photo to turn the alarm off in the morning, right through to doing some maths problems to turn your alarm off. And that is the one where I would err on the side of caution. I've already told you I'm not very good at maths. We tried Alarmy with the maths problems at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we struggled to solve them as a team in time for them to turn the alarm off. So, you know, if you're not particularly maths bods, then don't choose those missions, or choose those missions with caution. But what's really nice is it's an incentive to give you a mission to do that involves you actually engaging your brain or actually physically standing up. So if you were to do the photograph, an example that they use is to take a photograph of your bathroom sink before you go to bed, because then in the morning, to turn your alarm off, you actually have to physically get up out of bed and take a photograph of your sink to turn the alarm off. And the alarm makes a really annoying noise, and it gets louder and louder the longer it goes on for. So it's definitely an incentive to say that you're going to want to get up and turn it off. So the last one that I'm going to mention from this slide is Microsoft To Do. So Microsoft To Do is a lists and planning app. Again, because it is from Microsoft, it has a really, really nice integration with all of the other Microsoft products. Particularly with this one, it integrates really nicely with Outlook and Teams. So if you are using Outlook for your emails and you are using Teams for any meetings online or projects, then Microsoft To Do talks really, really nicely to both of those products. Now Teams has died on my tablet again, so I'm not going to be able to get that demo up of To Do on there. But To Do is just a to-do list creating site. And again, it has lots of options and elements so you can organize your time accordingly. So you can set up long-term projects in there. You can set up short-term projects. You can set all your time markers against them. You can set reminders for long-term projects of when you need to do things by. It also has a really nice feature where it brings up a page which is your day, so it will tell you everything that you have scheduled for the day. And because it integrates with Teams and with Outlook, if you have any meetings that are booked into Outlook, then it will pull those straight through into your to-do list. If you have anything that comes through in an email that mentions a time or a date, it will automatically, Outlook will automatically ask you if it wants you to add it to your to-do list. So they integrate really nicely with each other. And allow them to talk. So again, it's another free one that's in the Microsoft Arsenal. It's available on an app, so you can go and download it and have a try with that one and set it up. It's got really nice coding as well. You can do it all colourful and nice colour coding and things as well on there. I will also say that Teams is fantastic for time management, especially with group work. It does annoy me that with Teams, when I'm on Teams delivering a site, I can't then demo Teams because it goes into a little bit of a meltdown. It doesn't let it show itself on Teams recordings. But as you might be able to see from some of the functions of this meeting, there is a note-taking section within Teams meetings now, so you can collaboratively create all of your notes. And if you set something up in a Teams, if you're especially doing group work, it's a really nice way to stay in touch with each other. Each team that you set up has an instant messaging chat where you can talk to other members in that team. You can keep a track of what you're doing. You have list options and functions in there. There's lots of nice things like the whiteboard mode, so you can use a virtual whiteboard to work together. And it has really nice things that you can circulate and use together with each other. But unfortunately, Teams on Teams doesn't let me demonstrate that. Okay. So that is the end of all of the apps that I wanted to talk to you about. And as I planned, now we have the last sort of 10 minutes or so to take any questions or ask if anybody had something specific that they were looking for, maybe an app or tech for that we haven't mentioned today. If anyone's got any general questions, then please do feel free to ask. Like I said, if you want to pop it in the chat, that's fine. If you would prefer to come off mic and ask something, then please pop your hand up, use the raised hand, and we can come to you. No problem if you want to ask, but yeah, anything that anybody has. But I will stop sharing my screen. So yeah, somebody did pop in the chat about the slides. Yes, the slides will be circulated for everybody, as will the recording that we've made. But yeah, anybody have any questions? I'm just looking back as well. Just with regards to when we were looking at Keep, they did ask, can a Microsoft laptop download it? So with Keep on a Microsoft laptop, you wouldn't be able to download it, but you can use it online. So if you go on to Keep online, if you go onto the Google Keep online website, then you'll be able to access all your Keep notes. Again, log into your account and they will all sync over. Do you need to have an updated Microsoft package for the built-in tools? You don't have to have the most up-to-date package. I can't remember off the top of my head what the oldest package is that you need, but as students with an ac.uk email address, when you get your ac.uk email address, you can download a free student version of Microsoft. So if you haven't got the most up to date, you can get your student version, which will then allow you access. So yeah, all of your student accounts will have all of those packages, because I can't remember off the top of my head the oldest version that it will come on. So there was a question in here, which again, if Alice or one of the colleagues from Cambridge might be on to answer this. Are lecturers okay with students taking pictures of whiteboards, etc. during lectures?
I think that's a question to ask your lecturer, your supervisor, or your DOS. But
Yeah.
if you have any problems, please contact your advisor, but ask your lecturer, supervisor, or DOS in the first instance.
Yeah, I think the same goes with if you were thinking about needing to record. It would just be about having that conversation with your lecturer. You know, as a reasonable adjustment, they should be allowing people to do so, but yeah, it's probably in your best interest just to have a chat with them, just to explain what you're going to do and why you're going to do it, and hopefully they shouldn't have any problems. But then, as Alice said, if you do have any problems, then reach out to the disability team. Do you know if the whiteboard on Teams can be used with screen readers? I do know, and unfortunately it can't be used with screen readers. So in this instance, what we always say with tech is it's all really great to use because it can be really helpful for some people, but to make sure that you're not excluding others. So the way that we would work around, if we particularly, like if I was having a session where I was using the whiteboard in Teams, I would just be making sure that the person that is leading the Teams call was just making sure that that information was reiterated in another format. So usually when I was on the call, it would be verbally. I would be making sure that everything that was put on the whiteboard was being read out. And then after the session, I would usually probably follow up by taking all the information off of the whiteboard and sharing it in a format that I did know could be used by something like a screen reader. So I would probably pop all of the information into a Word document and make sure that that was circulated for future reference, because yeah, at the moment things like whiteboard are not screen reader compatible. No problem. Oh, thanks very much. So yeah, we have another few minutes for any questions from anything else. If anybody else has any burning apps that they were looking at, someone's normally throws me a, is there an app for this? And I have to say I have no idea, and then I go away and look it up. But no one's thrown, apart from the maths. But I do know someone has thrown me maths apps before, and they are not very. There is an app if you are eligible for DSA and you are doing maths. There is a piece of software that is maths based. I think it's from Text Help. Let me just Google and see. Yeah, so there is a piece of software from a company called Text Help that is called Equatio, which has been built for maths, but it is a paid software. I wouldn't know the cost of it if you needed to look it up, but if you are eligible for DSA funding, it is something that's worth bringing up to when you have your DSA assessment, or if you've had your DSA assessment, get back in contact and mention it, because yeah, that is a paid piece of software, but it is created for maths. But as goes with free stuff, nothing on the market yet. I'll keep looking. I always keep looking. Have to keep up to date with these softwares for these tech demos, because there's constantly stuff arriving. Great.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you to Lizzie. That was an interesting, useful session, and there's certainly apps that I'm going to go away and have a look at. Thanks for the session.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Just go and try them. You know, none of them cost much at all. Most of them cost nothing. Just go and give them a go and see how you get on. You're not going to love every single one of them, but hopefully you're going to love one or two of them, and that make a real difference.
And for any incoming students in the call, if the ADRC can help you, please don't hesitate to get in touch via the email. We sent a link to this information to the transition. I'll probably put that email in the chat. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No worries. What I'll do now is I'm just going to stop the recording.